Hey guys, how's it going? Dr. EG3 here, your coach, your mentor, your friend. Want to welcome you to What I'm Up To Wednesday, where I get the opportunity to share with you guys the things that I'm working on, what I think I'm struggling with, and the areas that I believe that I'm successful. The goal is to always have more wins than struggle, but we do acknowledge that struggle is the part of the process, so we need to make sure our wins are just that much more impactful. Now, the goal of this is to ensure that we start to dispel and disprove some of the images and idea of what success looks like, break down the barriers that prevents people from actually living their true authentic self. But then really I want to be able to pull the curtain back on my journey so that maybe you can learn something, so that we can learn something together, so that we can find out just better ways to just be successful together. So hopefully you find all of this is valuable. So since our time last week, I've been working on my goals, my aspirations, and my non-negotiables. Now, I don't want to oversell it, and I don't want to, I want to be honest with you guys. I probably only spent maybe 3 hours or so over the last 7 days looking at it, and it was very in small spurts, right? So it was about maybe 15 minutes here, 20 minutes there. I would pick it up, look at it, work on it, put it back down, but I would always come back to it as I work my way through it. Like I mentioned, your goals are the things that you're looking to do in life. And in today's successful culture, goals are kind of easy. It seems like you always got to have something that you're working towards or working on. So the goals portion was very easy, at first, right? The second part was my aspirations. Aspirations are the things you hope to become. So this is the things that are challenging you as an individual to become bigger, to become more of who you are, to work on those skills. So you may have to transform. And the last part of your non-negotiables, and we know your non-negotiables are the things that you ultimately don't want to sacrifice to be able to become who, or to do the things that you want to accomplish in life. Now, it was a little easier for me to do the non-negotiables, if I could be honest with you guys, because it was very thematic. It was very focused on particular things. It was that, hey, I don't want to sacrifice my integrity. I would never sacrifice, who I am as a man. I would never sacrifice, the relationship that I have with my wife, or do things that would, damage that. And then ultimately, the same things would be, I definitely always want to be an example to those that I love and care about, example to my daughters, example to people that are in my stratosphere and just around me, right? So non-negotiables are a little easier because it felt to be very principled and values-based. Now, I want to just acknowledge very quickly before I talk about today's lesson is that, what I realized was that your goals and your aspirations, they're intricately linked. I think sometimes we think about, your goals, and you start to think about things you want to accomplish, right? That to-do list can be very long. Sometimes it's, just want to become, a CEO of a company, or maybe I want to be a regional supervisor, or maybe I want to be a manager at a location, or a director, right? It's very easy to look at it from terms of title and then become very, transactional in terms of check boxes of, work hard, check, sometimes I work hard, do overtime, impress the boss, work on that project, pick it up, and it becomes very project or very task driven. But what I realized was sometimes when you have these big goals, it's not about what is the more work that you need to do, but rather who is it that you ultimately need to become. So let me give you an example. So when I say that I want to impact 1 million people, it'll be very easy for me to kind of break that down and start to do, very task-driven kind of steps. So, you take 1 million, so take 1 million divided by, through how many days in a year, then subdivide it even more of like how many posts, or how many, lecture series, or, start to count by how many speaking engagements you have to do to be able to hit that number. But what I recognized is that for me to be able to impact 1 million people, I have to ensure, I hope to become someone that's authentic. I hope to be someone that's light-filled. I become that you can see and feel the love in me. And sometimes it's like, well, I need to become a bigger speaker, or I need to become somebody that is able to articulate on the fly, right? So again, it's one of those where it helped when I shifted my viewpoint about not so much about what do I want to do, but I really started to focus and spend more time on who is it that I hope to become to be able to live and attain those goals that I, ultimately set out for. Now, that was last week, and again, I can tell you guys that I'm going to continue to come back to them. I can tell you that I'll continue to look at them and kind of refine and tweak them as I go into the next part of my process. But the next thing that I want to talk to you guys about are, again, there are 3 things that I think are very important to your development, to your progress, now that you have your goals, your aspirations, and your non-negotiables. But now we have to make sure that we have systems and processes in place that allow us to support those things that we say are important. You say your goals are important. You say your aspirations are important. You say your non-negotiables are important. So we need to make sure that there are systems and processes in place to ensure that you value and you are making those things priority. So this week, I want to focus on three particular things that are going to support your dreams, support your goals, support where you're trying to be, who you want to become, and then ultimately your non-negotiables. The three words I want to talk about are your routines, your habits, and then your behaviors. Now, when we think about your routines are intentional. Routines are not just something that you so happen to do every single day. Routine is where you're putting intent behind it to ensure that you are working towards an ultimate goal or comfort. So a routine would be, pretty much all of us at this point probably have a morning routine whenever we decide to wake up. There's no judgment here. I'm not talking about when you actually set your alarm clock. I'm not asking about how many times you hit snooze. Well, that might be some of our routines, right? Where you set the clock an hour ahead of time so you can hit snooze 3 or 4 times before you actually have to get up. But what I'm talking about is that, most of us have a routine that we've done for a very long time was about intent. As I'm thinking with my daughters, for example, as I'm kind of raising them, is that, my eldest, she gets up on her own and we're in the habit of, hey, make sure that before you come out of your room, you go to the bathroom, you brush your teeth, you wash your face, then you come downstairs, right? So that's kind of a routine where it's about intent. It's about ensuring that her teeth are clean. It's about ensuring that her face is washed. And obviously I skipped the most important one, going to the potty or the bathroom, right, when you wake up, right? So just like her, many of us have probably developed this routine over a very long period of time, depending obviously on your age, of how many mornings that you've done this. But it was always about intent. It was about a choice. It was about to serve a particular purpose, right? That we developed that routine. So that routine may look like, so for example, if your goal is ultimately to lose, you're getting ready for a wedding, right? And you may want to, you got to go there and you want to make sure that you can, fit into your particular outfit or your dress. You may create a workout routine where you are just trying to ensure that you, basically, can fit into that outfit, right? So you may say, okay, my routine is now going to be, I wake up and I exercise in the morning for 30 minutes. I have a nutritious breakfast. I make sure that I'm, saying no to certain things, right? So it's you develop a routine. It's very similar to individuals who are looking to get into healthier routines, when it comes to speaking in the gym. There's the gentleman that I'm thinking of right now that he has to have this massive routine because he's able to lift dump trucks, by the way, right? When you look at this guy's Instagram page, right? He's squatting like 8,000 pounds. He's, bench pressing 600 pounds or whatever, right? So anyway, he had to develop a very specific routine. So why routines are important? Routines are important because they establish a progress towards your ultimate goal, but it's intentional. Now, the cool thing about routines, if you do them long enough, if you ensure that, you're doing them the same way with much routine, they become very habitual. So that's why when I gave the example to many of you about your morning routine when you wake up, you're like, oh no, that's just habit. I don't even think about it. Well, what has happened is it's moved to be an active process of intent where it moved to be almost autonomic, where you just don't even think about it anymore, right? You just kind of, you get up, you don't even consciously think about, your morning routine anymore. When I said it, you had to kind of think about it, like, okay, what do I do? Do I brush my teeth first? Do I go to the bathroom? Do I wash my face, right? But it was a very particular order that you, as an individual, you do that. Another example of how routines become habits is think of your commute when you're on your way home, right? How many times have you been, going on your way home from, your workplace or from school, and you look up and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm home. How did I get here, right? Because it was no longer a cognitive process where it's about intent. It's almost like your body and your system just takes over, right? To be able to kind of get you where you need to go. What you may notice, going back to our example of setting the routine for healthy habits or gym routines or working out, you do it long enough, you may find that it becomes very habitual part of your routine, that it almost feels like your systems, your body, kind of craves those things. And then what happens is becomes behavioral, right? So you have your routine, it's about intent. You have habits that eventually just become autonomic, and the behaviors is just really about how you start to respond in certain scenarios and situations that, ultimately we can control as well through some of those habits. So, always a very easy example to think about. And again, I apologize, guy, I'm a healthcare professional, so I kind of think in the lens of healthy habits and things of that nature. But, if you want to have healthy lifestyle, right? Sometimes you have to think about not having unhealthy choices in your stratosphere, right? Sometimes it's just, it's easy to remove the choices, but what happens is that if you set intent, purge the pantry, purge the closet, purge whatever, all the food out of your house, and then you make healthier choices, it's about intent. That's your routine. Over time, it becomes a habit, but then ultimately that habit becomes who you are, and then really it just starts to outflow for, the decisions and processes that you make. It just becomes behavioral. So, hopefully, guys, that's the next thing that I'm working on. So I'm going to start to develop, like, what are the routines, the habits, and then ultimately behaviors that are going to support the things that I think are important. So you may be thinking, like, what does that look like, Dr. George? You're being very meta right now. You give me these examples. How does it apply to me? So let me give you kind of like the example that I'm thinking about, right? So if a goal of mine is to reach 1 million people, impact 1 million people, I need to become someone that, is able to handle that. Can I handle interfacing and interacting? Can I become someone that can be multimodal, which means, is that one-on-one interactions? Is that, someone who can interact via camera, interact online? Is that small group? Can I actually become someone that can speak in front of 50,000 people? Can I be like, Kev Hart and sell out Madison Square Gardens, right? Like that'd be pretty amazing actually, right? But I need to become that person. But then also, obviously my non-negotiables is, I can't be like Kevin Hart, or I can't be, in front of so many people, but again, where I'm just giving up too much time with my family. So again, that's just kind of non-negotiable, but guys, maybe I could just bring them on the road with me, but that's another conversation for another day. But how do my routines, my habits, and then my behaviors become to support those things? Then guess what? I may have to set up a routine, for example, that I'm being very conscious about my personal and self-development. I have to be very conscious about, am I reading? Am I writing? Am I allowing creative process so that, guess what, I can be interesting? Again, I can't just say that I want to impact a million people and not be interesting enough for them to listen to me, right? Then, hopefully those things become habitual, or just part of my daily routine is about me, writing, being creative, having expression. Guess what? Part of my routine has to be, I have to interact with people, right? I have to be able to interact and try to be meaningful. And then, hopefully that just becomes behavioral, where ultimately it's just kind of like set into just the being of who I am, of just being loving, caring, wanting to be impactful. So hopefully this helped for you guys. One other example that I've worked on, one of my non-negotiables, right, that I have is not wanting to be here for my daughters long-term and my wife long-term, right? So I've adopted healthy habits. I've tried to adopt healthy habits. So I can tell you guys this from personal experience. What started out as a routine of me waking up at 5 a.m. Now, I'm not saying you should wake up at 5 a.m. It's the only time that worked on my schedule, if I could be truly honest with you. Sometimes working out in the evening is not a very easy time of transition, with the girls and washing hair and spending time with my wife and, just getting through after the evening. So sometimes working out in the evening is kind of like off the table. But what I found, 5 a.m. works, right? It's just enough time for me to do what I have to do, where I can get up, I can get on the treadmill, run for a little bit, do some stretching, do some strength training. And then what I also do is like either do some yoga or some meditation, but then also try to do some creative writing or something in the morning to just be able to allow something to come out of my brain. So I established that routine. It's actually now becoming a habit, because what I've noticed is that I don't necessarily need my alarm anymore to wake up. Now, if I could be honest with you guys, here's what I'm struggling. Sometimes getting to that treadmill is a little hard, right? But it's my body is now habitual of being able to get up, to be able to do those things. I'm in a position to be able to do it. Now, the things that I've learned, how it's behavioral, how it's become a part of my kind of almost anatomy, on those days, again, remember I said I'm struggling with this, right? I don't always get it to that treadmill, but on the days in which I don't work out in the morning, those mornings that I may get up, I may hit snooze, but I don't make my way to that treadmill and work out or stretch or do whatever I'm supposed to do for that time when I wake up, I can feel it, and how I operate throughout the day. I get more foggy. I get where like I feel like the creative juices may not flow. I feel like that I can't quite get on, right? I feel a little off, right? So it's gotten from a routine to habit to being behavior where it's now affecting my being. So again, guys, hope this helped for you. Let me know which one you think you'll struggle the most with. Is it your routine? Is it your habits? Is it ultimately your behaviors of what's going to support your dreams, your goals, your aspirations, your non-negotiables? But again, guys, remember the result was a choice. Please comment below. Let me know if this was helpful. Let me know which ones that you will struggle with. Is it your routine? Is it your habit? Or is it your behaviors? Talk to you later, guys. As always, I love you much. Let me know if you need anything. Comment below.